Hello, Sapphire Beach Resort and Marina. Great place. Probably my favorite investment on the island of St. Thomas. It's located on the east end, um, only half a mile from the town of Red Hook. If you're not familiar with Red Hook's where you catch the ferry to go over to St. John. You've also got a bunch of restaurants, bars, shops, a grocery store, gas station, and only being half a mile away, you can actually walk if you want. You don't even have to take a cab. It's not that bad of a walk at all. So great location, especially when you think about the beach itself. Sapphire has 6 buildings. Each has 4 levels, but 3 levels of condos. The reason that is, you've got the first 2 floors are studio units. The third floor where you enter are villa units, which are 2 levels. They have an interior stairwell up to the 4th level. So you've got twice as many studios as you have villas in total. Between the 6 buildings, they're all a little bit different size, but anywhere from 9 to 11 units long. So gives you a general idea of the size. They also share a pool, a nice pool. It's located right outside of the D building. They do have, as I said, their nice beach. They've got a great restaurant bar right there off the beach itself. They have a little shop included with that as well. So you could actually subside just at Sapphire and not have to leave if you didn't want to. Though, of course, you're going to want to go get groceries because all these condos have their own kitchen. So you can do a lot of your own cooking. Then you can also eat out at the restaurant there. They have another one at Sapphire Village next door. So there are places to eat that you can walk to without a problem, even if you include walking to Red Hook, even more. Biggest questions I get about Sapphire Beach Resort tend to do with the COA dues because they are high, at least in perspective of stateside buyers. Studio condos are $920 a month. The villa units are 50% higher, so $1,380. There is also an assessment going on right now, a 5-year assessment related to the waste treatment center. And it adds a little, I think it's about $77 for the studios, 50% more than that for the others to make it more like $1,000 a month and $1,500 a month. What do you get for that? Well, you get the typical things you would expect, the most expensive being insurance. That's what costs the most down here in the Virgin Islands. We are in a hurricane territory, so it's money well spent. Sapphire Beach Resort did very well also during the storms, but still having that peace of mind of insurance is important. You also get landscaping and 24-hour security. They keep at least 2 security guards on at all times, including through the night. One of them is positioned at the entry by car to keep people from being able to drive in, and the other tends to walk the property and walk around and make sure everything seems okay. So it's nice having that also. Landscaping too, I guess, would count. Things that are included that you wouldn't expect to be included because they're not at most condo associations, but they are at Sapphire Beach Resort include the windows, the doors, the air conditioning systems, and the hot water heaters. So if your hot water heater breaks down or you're having some kind of problem with that, COA is responsible. They've got some in stock. They can just change it out or they can go there and fix whatever's wrong. Same thing with air conditioners. They can replace the compressor if needed. Usually it just takes a repair, maybe a leak in the hose. They can charge that thing up and have you back in business immediately. So if you have a guest that comes in and they say, hey, our air conditioning system isn't cooling enough, they typically have somebody on property or can at least get somebody there in pretty short order within a day to be able to fix the problem at no cost to you. So that's advantages there. What other expenses can you expect? Well, the typicals. They do have cable offered through the COA. It's $25 a month, has a pretty good selection of channels. So I advise doing that, though you do have the option of getting your own cable or satellite. It'll just cost you a lot more. You're also going to want internet. Everybody wants internet when they're traveling, and that'll probably cost you about $60 a month or so. And then you have electricity and water. Water on the island is charged per gallon. It's not that bad of a rate there. I think it's 5 cents per month, if I remember correctly, at Sapphire. Some places charge as much as 12, so it's a pretty good deal. Electric costs on the island are quite expensive, so you can pay a fair amount. It really depends on the time of year, how hot it is outside. Summers are obviously a lot hotter, but also how occupied your condo is. If nobody's really around, you might have a bill as low as $50 to $75 a month. but your typical is probably going to average around 200 to 250 a month for a studio unit, but it will be more in those summer months if you have it occupied and you have guests that are cranking the AC 24/7, including when they're out on the beach itself. So that'll cost you a fair amount. What does that total to? Let's just focus on studios here. You can count on the villas being about 50% higher, but it'll run you around $1,500 a month. Okay, so that's talking 18,000 a year or so in expenses for your condo itself, not counting any mortgage if you have one. We'll talk about financing a little later. I guess you need to weigh with what those costs are with what kind of income you can expect. So there's a difference in income, and it depends obviously on how well appointed your condo is, what kind of condition it's in, the cleanliness, as well as how well you book it. Are you good? Do you really pay attention? Do you make this important for you? Using VRBO or Airbnb, you can book it yourself with no problem. There's plenty of housekeepers there and stuff you can get to turn those over. They can even deal with maintenance issues if and when they come up. Knowing that the COA takes care of some of them, that's also a relief too, because you can call them to fix a lot of the problems. But just to give you an idea of what kind of expenses or income to expect with these, I know some people that have brought in $60,000 a year for their studios. That leaves a good amount of profit. I mean, you could profit $40,000 a year on these if it's a really nice condo and you really make booking it a priority. Not using it yourself during the high times of the season. Don't come down during Christmas and spring break and use it. Those are the times you're always going to have it full and you're getting the highest rate. So those things make a difference. It's also a difference on where you're located in the resort. The F building is located at the Marina and doesn't tend to get as much per night or stay as full because people tend to want to be on the beach. Buildings A through E, which are on the beach, tend to stay full longer and get a higher price. So that's going to make a difference. I think regardless of where you're located, and even if you don't make it a high priority, you should be able to bring in at least $25,000 a year, including an F building. And if you don't even try that hard, but you've got a nice beachfront unit, you should be able to bring in at least $35,000 a year. Now, I can't know whether you're going to be good at doing bookings or whether you're going to respond to emails or people that are asking questions to you. That is important in making sure that you're going to capitalize on your income. But this at least lets you know what you could expect provided you make the effort. Last thing I want to talk about is financing. I do not recommend you purchase a condo here unless you're able and willing to pay cash. Why? First, the financing options are limited. There are only 2 local banks that will finance there because it's classified as what's called a condotel. We don't have enough full-time residences, and there's a rental agency on property itself that takes care of things. So it's classified differently, so you can't get a regular loan. Interest rates are typically going to be higher, and one of the banks that makes the offering there, which actually does a good job, has a 5-year balloon payment. So you have to have an option at the end of those 5 years, how you're going to pay for that, or you're going to be stuck refinancing. The rates might even be a lot higher at that time. But the more important reason is if you don't have enough to pay in cash, you just really shouldn't be doing it. You know, this is a second home. It's not going to be your first home. It's an investment property. What happens if we get the hurricanes like 2017 and suddenly you have zero income, but you still have all those expenses, and even more if there's damage in your condo for 5 months? Can you get by for 5 months with no income, yet continuing to have these expenses? Those are questions you have to ask yourself. We also have, as we now see, coronavirus that's hit the islands and everywhere in the world. They are not allowing, at this moment I'm making this video, you to do VRBO or Airbnb. We're not taking people from off island as guests to the island. So that makes it challenging as well. And it's not as desirable a place for long-term rentals. People will tend to stay other places. It's going to be harder to get your money back. So I advise doing it with cash. And if you do, you should make a really good return on your money. I will say one more thing. I personally have owned, myself and my wife, we've owned 3 units here at Sapphire Beach Resort in Marina over the years. I really do like it. They have a great manager. They have a great office manager. They have some great employees too that have been there for a long time, really take care of things. I'm happy with the board. there's always issues with board of directors going back and forth and changing in and out and what decisions they make. And it's hard to keep everybody happy. But in general, they really care about it. They're doing it as a volunteer and they work hard to make things good for the resort itself. So probably my number one choice in investments on the island, but from the perspective that you need to have cash on it, and it should be focused on investment for short-term rentals versus long-term rentals itself. If you have any questions about Sapphire Beach Resort and Marina, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I know it all really well and would be happy to work with you. Thank you.